are these people?
I'm
Okay.
glad that we're making this connection between COVID and climate change because I feel like they're really deeply
Psyops,
seated
man.
into each other. They're like different. They're totally different industries, and they behave in different ways. But I mean, listen, like you thought gain
You
of
start
research.
seeing how they're like using language, and one of the giveaways for me for kind of whether something kind of meets the muster for probably being a psyop is if they have like they make you be like 100% in on whatever their narrative, that whatever their bullshit they're feeding you, and if there's something you disagree with or something you take issue with or something you want to push back on, you're canceled or you're vilified or you're like on the other side or you're a crazy right-winger conspiracy theorist.
Yeah.
So uh yeah, phthalates, dude. Like you saw, like I was talking about that stuff a couple weeks ago. It's just scary, man. Like, yes, there's stuff to be had. There's a conversation. I guess I'll say, like, is there a conversation to be had about climate change? Not in the way that the people who are making us try and talk about climate change think we should be talking about it. Because if
Yeah,
we
no.
were talking about it, we should be talking about like the food we eat, which not saying beef is bad and that we should switch over to freaking stuff grown in a lab, but that maybe we don't need to freaking put jabs in our fucking meat. Maybe like there's something to be said about not spraying plants with atrazine and glyphosate, Roundup and freaking Syngenta. Like maybe there's an argument to be had about having like, wait, it's kind of weird how if you live in a city, you're not allowed to grow your own farm. Like that's weird. That's fucking weird.
That really, really paints the picture of modern science today, because it's not because now you can shape science to really say whatever you want. You can form statistics to make it say whatever you want. You can form whatever narrative as long as you cancel the studies. You don't have a control group. As long as you exaggerate the numbers like a little bit. It's the same thing with the Uyghur genocide in China. How they
Yeah, with
how they
the
manipulated
freaking
the data in
what's
order
his
to
name?
make it seem like
Adrian
there was a
Zenz, that
genocide going
motherfucker.
on.
Based
When
on one
really,
study by some freaking xenophobic guy, Adrian Zenz. I remember that freaking
yeah,
conspiracy.
the
People
this
still
cycle,
freaking believe it.
like this is the era of modern science, and this is and the real takeaways are the giveaways when they like do ridiculous shit, like suggesting like you're gonna need like 15 jabs every month, or literally blocking out the fucking sun. This is a
Come on.
new thing. This is not new. This is not a new idea. Now
Come
this has
on.
been a Bill Gates backed project. Now it seems the White House is open for it. It's been fairly
These
controversial
fucking clowns,
for pretty
dude.
obvious reasons, but in a 44-page report, it seems that it pains to say that it was not its own idea. The White House laid out a 5-year research plan to support development and eventual development of solar radiation management, or
So
SRM.
just a really quick question on that. Is this separate from chemtrails and like weather
That's
modification
what
like
I'm
clouds?
asking. This is the big questions that I'm at. So in order to like kind of, I guess, get an
Because
understanding of how
because I thought the whole point
this
of
works.
chemtrails, I mean, I don't really know the whole point of chemtrails to be honest, but like part of the
The
understanding I
point of
thought was
chemtrails is that
blocking out the
the
sun,
idea of or like
controlling temperature.
the conspiracy behind chemtrails is that planes are like
I mean, I've
spraying out
seen the weather
chemicals
patterns and shit. Like I
to
fully
control the
believe
weather,
I've
right?
seen the planes. Like there's no doubt in my mind that chemtrails are a thing. I just don't really understand why the government is doing it.
No, but I'm glad you brought that up because like what this solar geoengineering is it is effectively climate control. Like, watch how okay they show like a small demonstration here.
Cry over climate change.
The cloud is gone, you get this rapid warming at a rate much faster than you would get if we had done nothing. And if you've taken out the greenhouse gases that are adding to the warming, then the temperature won't go up, it'll stay what it is. So if we don't stop emitting greenhouse gases into the atmosphere, we don't try as hard as we can to do that, then there's no point in doing solar geoengineering.
A 2016 opinion poll conducted by the Harvard group doing solar geoengineering research found that 67% of subjects support its use. One reason this technology is appealing.
Okay, and
it's
how
cheap.
do you use geoengineering?
57%.
What does it take to use to geoengineer a planet? Fucking carbon dioxide, you knuckleheads.
They want to use fucking aerosol, the aerosol, the shit that they're
Fucking
warning
ridiculous.
us about.
Study estimates it would cost an average of $2.25
no.
billion globally every year.
That
for
was
the
like
first 15 years
one of the
deployment.
like eye-opening
Compare that to
things
the
for
half a
me.
trillion
Was like
dollars the US government
recognizing that
estimates it will
carbon
cost just the
dioxide
US
helps things grow.
When you see the scam, it really opens your eyes. It really
by
makes
2100
everything
if no
different.
action is taken against climate change. Or the 1.6 to 3.8 trillion for carbon capturing, another climate change solution backed by Bill Gates and by Big Oil. It involves sucking billions of tons of carbon
Backed
out
by
of the
Big Oil.
air. And at 1 to
That's
200,
how you know it's a good
Carbon
idea.
collection,
$100 a
fucking
ton.
bullshit. You mean a fucking tree?
Yeah.
It could be big
These
business.
fucking
Solar
these
geoengineering,
fucking
on the other hand, is
hucksters,
so
man.
Yep.
cheap that nobody currently stands to make money from the process.
But just because a solution is cheap doesn't make it a good one. It's cheap and dangerous.
It doesn't require a lot of materials. It doesn't require a big innovation. It basically affects the whole planet with one project. So that is not necessarily a situation that has a lot of profit opportunity, right? Because there's not going to be a lot of different people that can do it and compete in a marketplace.
Bill Gates is among a dozen individual donors and 14 foundations backing the first stratospheric solar geoengineering experiment out of Harvard. It's called Stratospheric Controlled Perturbation Experiment, or SCOPEX. A high-altitude balloon will lift instruments about 20 kilometers into the stratosphere, where it will release less than 2 kilograms of different naturally occurring chemicals, like calcium carbonate and sulfates, and then measure the change in
and
atmospheric
aluminum
chemistry and light
and
scattering.
fucking mercury.
The Harvard group that runs SCOPEX and other experiments has.
Isn't that the whole? Wasn't that?
They're
what
not
they
going to
were
tell
railing
you.
at us
They're
about
not
in
going
the
to tell you what
70s?
else isn't coming out in there. They're not going to tell you
Weren't they
what else.
telling us with the hairspray that was destroying the ozone layer with the greenhouse? Wasn't that the thing in the 70s, like back then?
Yes. That was.
It was the hairspray and
Freon.
the aerosol, and now they're saying.
And then they tell you like Freon. Remember Freon in refrigerators? They used to say Freon was really bad to like releasing
the stoves.
The stoves. And then in New York a couple weeks ago, they're trying to ban freaking wood burning stoves. Like, get the fuck out of here.
Get the fuck out of here.
Has raised more than $16 million, more than double any other solar geoengineering effort. And annual global funding has gone up from $1 million in 2008 to $8 million in 2018, with the majority of that funding coming from the US. The first phase of SCOPEX will cost around $3 million, with much more needed for wider research on solar geoengineering.
What?
To this point, stratosphere injections have only been tested with climate modeling. In the UK, a government-funded solar radiation management test called SPICE was cancelled in 2012 because of issues with patents.
We're not trying to develop any technology that is patented.
We wanted to make more money off
of
of it than they were willing to give us.
A study last year found that no existing aircraft can inject the stratosphere at a high enough altitude, but developing a new high-altitude tanker would not be technologically difficult or prohibitively expensive. Nozzles still need to be designed that can continuously blast out trillions of
now
particles.
they're just straight up.
And scientists still need.
It's literally chemtrails, isn't it?
It's chemtrails. That's chemtrails.
That's chemtrails.
They're already doing it. Like,
need to decide what chemicals those particles should be made of. But unlike cloud brightening, which is another solar reflection technique, the tech needed for stratospheric injections is not far off.
The technology is not the main thing that's holding this back. The main thing that's holding it back is the uncertainty about what the exact effects would be and the positives and negatives of its effects.
So
bad.
You get the idea. It's a very touchy subject that the White House is just at this point.
Well, I think it's just
because
another grift for them. Hey, let's come up with a plan to address this one niche thing by doing this one thing that like a handful of companies will be the ones to figure out how to come up with funding to come up with this thing that will test this one interesting thing. They're creating a grift by creating the initiative, right? They're like, hey, we're going to start trying to figure out weather modification. Great. All the people who are full of shit and like on that entrepreneur climate change grift are going to be like, great. Now I know that I can get on the weather modification grift. You know, like he's basically giving the stamp of approval saying that, hey, come see the US if you want to get subsidies and you have an idea on how you want to pollute our skies. That's how my cynical ass sees it. You know, some lobbyists, some Bill Gates lobbyists were like, hey, we've been doing chemtrails for a long time. Let's just privatize it and make it a thing.
I'm going to be showing more, but
sorry, I don't mean to like.
When you get into the actual details itself,
dude, it was a big document. That was like part of. I just didn't have the time to go through the whole document. It was like way bigger than the stuff.
I mean, honestly, so when you actually go through this document, a lot of it is like speculation and just like what
making shit up.
it's really all just theory at this point because they don't even know if they can actually pull this off. You saw it in the video. They don't know if they can even build an aircraft that can reach that kind of altitude and spray it at the same time, and what kind of effects this has. They have no idea what it's going to do, and they're saying that it's your fault that you didn't recycle enough or buy that electric car or get to carbon neutral.
Yeah, it's
because
ridiculous.
that now we have to block the fucking sun because you didn't do enough to save the planet. And if you
Is that really the argument that they're
jarring more
making?
than the language. What?
That's the argument that they're making, that the consumer uses too much stuff that creates waste instead of blaming the waste producers. That's like the did you ever learn how
fundamentally they're saying that this is they're saying the reasoning behind this is that climate change has become a fundamental threat, like to the point where like it's inevitable, where we'll have to do some crazy wild shit like this, like blocking out the fucking sun.
Yeah, not telling companies that they have 180 days to get their shit together and produce less freaking waste, or
no,
even
not
just
like that. No, not like cutting the military budget. Nothing like that.
It's just another grift. It's just another lane. You're going to see the dumbest fucking companies coming out advertising freely that they're dumping fucking chemicals into our sky. And they're going to come up with some like crazy name that's going to sound all happy, like pleasant chemicals, pleasant skies. And it's like dumping fucking arsenic and freaking aluminum into the fucking sky. It's going to be the fucking worst thing.
That's going to be the next like build to Ukraine. It's going to be it's going to be the happy bombs.
The happy bombs.
The happy clusters.
Bombs for peace.
Bombs for peace.
Get the fuck out of here.
So they're aware. They're fairly aware of the dangers. They wear it out in this document, the White House document here. A variety of unintended outcomes of solar radiation modification are not well understood, and there may be others that which we're all not aware of. The known unknowns include potential changes in precipitation patterns, stratospheric temperatures, ozone amounts, sea level rise, patterns of climate variability, ocean acidification, productivity of mixing, terrestrial vegetation, coral reefs, biodiversity, crop production, and ecosystems. So this is affecting not just the weather, but also think about crop production and your food. Who is the number one owner of agriculture in the world?
Well, the biggest, he owns the most farmland in the United States, right?
Is Bill Gates.
Yeah.
The largest. So how do they put you under control is by controlling
it's literally
crops that you can grow and controlling where it is. This is weather modification. Don't get it wrong.
And
this
it's also
straight up all of the conspiracy theorists who were going off for years about weather modification and chemtrails. Maybe they weren't wrong.
I think
it seems
one
like
of the
they're
things that
already
really
doing
helped me, besides the pandemic, one of the things that really helped me come along and be open to these things and kind of doing my own research is not getting offended when people would like give me shit for doing my own research or thinking that I'm crazy for doing my own research. Like, dude, like these rabbit holes are so elaborate and there's so much evidence if you just fucking look. But the like media works overtime to hide this shit from you. It's just crazy.
They're even wary of the geopolitical considerations. They said the cooling effects. So they know that this shit is not just affecting them, but the whole planet, and that no one else is signing up to this. But it's their idea to block out the entire fucking sun for everyone else. The cooling effects of SRM would lessen the tendency of climate change impacts like food scarcity, water scarcity, and migration to exacerbate geopolitical stress.
Bro, sounds like a categorically terrible idea. It sounds like they want to fucking enslave us.
Could introduce other changes to weather patterns that cause problems and create separate geopolitical tensions.
We're gonna create a famine someday and then declare national emergency.
That's the plan.
Yeah, I mean that's like it's like my cynical ass going there and being like, yeah, the stuff they're not telling you is that they can create a freaking health crisis and then create an emergency because of that health crisis.
Yeah, so don't get this mixed up, folks. This is straight up weather modification, and I don't typically like Fox News, but I do like this guy Mark. This is a good segment on
signal
what the actual grab behind this is.
100%
its fight
Julie.
against global warming may actually involve blocking sunlight. The White House posting research claiming, quote, solar radiation modification would enable better informed decisions about the potential risk and benefits of SRM as a component of climate policy, alongside the foundational elements of greenhouse gas emissions mitigation. Our next guest warns this is simply government's way to control your weather. Mark Morano, publisher of ClimateDepot.com, and he joins us now.
That's a gaslight
Okay,
too.
Mark, my take this morning was maybe this is one of those or else, get on board with everything else or we're going to block the sun. But I guess it's a little bit more, reality than that. Tell us about it.
Well, this is actually Bill Gates funding this as well through Harvard University. This is retro 1970s. In the 1970s, they believed that our fossil fuels were creating aerosols, blocking the sun, creating man-made global cooling. So they came up with the same kind of geoengineering solutions back then. They wanted to put black soot on the Arctic to melt it. There was one proposal to use nuclear energy to help loosen the Arctic ice caps because they thought they were growing too much. And John Holdren, back in the Obama administration, also supported this kind of geoengineering, if you will, of the climate. This is radical, risky, unproven, unknown effects, but they're doing it as a sort of lever over us to say now in the Biden administration, kind of like, yeah, we know this is dangerous, we don't know the effects, but darn it, people aren't buying electric cars fast enough, or they're not embracing Green New Deal policies, so we have to risk our entire planet with this insane kind of research. It's basically weather modification. China's been doing it for years.
What'd you say?
It's still kind of a gaslight because, like, I think that they're just trying to open up another line of business to find government subsidies rather than actually trying to, like, do research. I think it's just another way for more companies to get in on the cash cow that is climate change. So him kind of saying, oh, they need to do research, I think is, like, not really doing the full analysis of the fact that this kind of initiative exists with the purpose of allowing companies to exist that were going to poison our skies.
Mm-hmm.
Another form of what the U.S. government has even been doing. The ABC News meteorologists bragged about the cloud seeding they're doing to increase rain.
The beyond like he's still having like the partisan take. He's still having the crazy like right versus left take where I think
I get that.
The real take is
preface it, but they got
right
like Fox for that. They did.
And I think people get that.
But this a lot, but it is correct what he's saying. It is weather modification. They said
it is weather modification, but I think they're doing it for money, not for research.
What it is, and to call it like it. This is just another pure perfect example of conspiracy theories.
Yeah, but
straight. Well,
you're a crazy QAnon right-wing conspiracy theorist. If you freaking find a mainstream article talking about this shit,
it's insane. Here's a little bit more about what the potential dangers of what this actually is. It's just the last short video.
Climate change took its toll on 2017, making it one of the warmest years on record, and the U.S. most expensive disaster year ever. As the warming trend continues, researchers are exploring if solar geoengineering might slow it down, but they're finding it might actually do more harm than good. Solar geoengineering involves reflecting more sunlight back into space so the planet cools down. Scientists think if it's done together with reductions in greenhouse gas emissions, it might offset some of the effects of climate change. One of the most popular and feasible methods involves spraying sulfur dioxide into the upper atmosphere to form a cloud that would reflect solar radiation.
How would this help the ozone layer? I'm confused.
This is similar to what happens during large volcanic eruptions. Models have shown this technique might not...
Oh, so that's the other thing. So they're basing this off of volcanic
similar to what happens during large volcanoes. Could also...
Did you know at one volcanic eruption, is equal to the carbon output of every single human being on
Yeah,
Earth
it's crazy.
for 1 year.
Yeah, I believe it. It's fucking. I remember reading something
Just
about
one
that.
volcanic
It's
eruption.
insane. It's insane.
And then it's facts like that, and then also the stuff like recycling that I talked about before, about how it's grossly inefficient, about how it actually pollutes the air.
Well, what I was actually gonna say, what was funny about recycling, because it kind of goes to another rabbit hole, is that the whole. Are you old enough to remember reduce, recycle, reuse? The
Yeah.
like triangle with the arrows.
Yeah.
So that was a lobbying campaign by Coca-Cola to get us to recycle their plastic instead of them coming up with better reasons to like come up with better, more efficient, or less pollutant.
Oh, really?
Products. Yeah.
Really?
That's my understanding, is that it was a Coca-Cola
I didn't know
thing.
that.
Yeah, crazy, right?
That's insane.
Yeah. So that total non sequitur, but like these. The companies are like 10 steps ahead of us. It sucks.
Reduce melting of sea and land ice, slow down sea level rise, and make it easier for plants to absorb carbon dioxide. But the risks might outweigh the benefits. Some models show if we start sulfur seeding and then abruptly stop for some reason, the planet might actually begin rapidly heating up, far faster than if seeding hadn't been used at all. The warming could be disastrous for ecosystems, especially fragile ones in the polar regions. Other studies have found sulfur seeding might also lead to substantial ozone depletion, reversing the slow natural repairs to the ozone hole above Antarctica. So before we go spraying aerosols into the sky, we might want to seriously weigh as many risks and benefits as we can. Scientists won't know all of geoengineering's implications until it's underway.
No brainer. Does not take 5 years in college to have that answer.
Did you ever look into any of the shit about the sea bioengineering? How they want to like I'm not exactly sure what the plan is, but it's like geoengineering of like sea levels and like the water.
Well, what they want to raise or lower the sea level?
Like manufacture like lower and like raise like sea levels. Yeah.
I thought the whole concept of like the raising and lowering sea levels isn't really like a thing, because if you put like,
I don't know, I'm not sure
what
it is.
Ice.
It's like
you put
water.
ice in it. You put ice in a cup of water. When the ice melts, the water is still at the same level.
Right.
Yeah. So the idea of like raising and lowering, like, I'm not. It's just one of those things.
No, a lot of the science, and like this is why I brought up the COVID thing too, is because when as soon as the science becomes manipulated to the point where it becomes fairly obvious to the average person, like, okay, this is a scam. This is obviously a scam. Like, this is like someone coming up to you with a collection of knives and saying, hey, would you like to sell some of these? You know, I can get you a good deal on some. You know, they sell for a great price.
Yeah. And
you totally buying it. Like, would you buy these knives? Like, would you buy this from like getting any sort of narrative from the government is like literally buying anything.
They're like used car salesmen.
Like a used car salesman, yeah.
Yeah. Like I mean, I've thought about that for the last few years, and I can't tell if it's just because I'm more aware, because the freaking
like the sales experience behind you.
I
used
sales
to be
experience,
sales
like COVID kind of like woke me up to a lot of shit. So I don't know if I'm just like more aware of the psyops in front of our faces all the time, or if the government really is trying to like running out of things to fuck with us with. So they're just like pretending that we live in idiocracy and are just sending out the like dumbest shit ever just to like fuck with us. I can't tell if I'm just like more attuned to it, or if it is like getting worse. I think it's probably getting worse, but like at the same time, like,
well, the Simpsons managed to know.
Well, sir, you've certainly vanquished all your enemies, the elementary school, the local tavern, the old age home. You must be very proud.
No, not for my greatest nemesis still provides our customers with free light, heat, and energy. I call this enemy the sun.
Okay, so know what's really funny about this? I'll tell you afterward.
Okay.
Since the beginning of time, man has yearned to destroy the sun. I will do the next best thing. Block it out.
This is Bill Gates.
Good God.
Imagine it, Smithers. Electrical lights and heaters running all day long.
But, sir, every plant and tree will die. Owls will deafen us with incessant hooting. The town sundial will be useless. I don't want any part of this project. It's unconscionably fiendish.
I will not suffer your insubordination. There has been a shocking decline in the quality and quantity of your toadying, Whalen, and you will fall into line. Now!
No.
Doesn't that sound a lot like the COVID debate?
100%.
It's basically the COVID and the climate debate.
So, yeah.
It's spot on.
Fiendish.
I will not suffer your insubordination. There has been a shocking decline in the quality and quantity of your toadying, Whalen, and you will fall into line. Now!
No. No, Monty, I won't. Not until you step back from the brink of insanity.
I'll do no such thing. You're fired. Take that Boulderama. Take that convenient smart. Take that nuclear power plant. Oh, fiddlesticks.
So I actually saw something the other day, and I don't know if this is true, but I read that Matt Groening is like a level 30 Freemason, and that's why he's able to like have like his show is always prescient and like predicting the future.
Oh, like predictive programming.
Because he's a Freemason, like a high level Freemason.
Can you send me articles on that? Because I need to read that.
Yeah.
Futurama was my favorite show for like a long time.
Yeah, because people were like, he predicts everything, and then like the thing with the sun is like, oh yeah, that's because...
And Donald Trump, yeah.
Yeah.